we're excited about our guest today, and we're going to go ahead and kick it off with a song. Mia's husband's going to sing. You can use that as a meditation, a way to get centered. Um, Please give a warm welcome to Clive Williams.
The road is long, darkness deep, but I'll stay strong. My darkness keep and fly high like a dove. Temple of your love, like a pilgrim, I'll journey on my way, far and wide, until that day I return. Take me all day, be high like you love, worship once more at the temple of your love. Temple of your love.
So today we have Sera Williams with us, and she is such a beautiful beacon of light and love that I have been tracking for a while on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not even sure how we found our way to each other, but I just know that we've been kind of ping-ponging this game of love back and forth from America to Ireland. I've gotten to see her begin communities and dip into programs, and when she found, or they found each other, I was like, okay. Mia got her groove back. Wherever, I don't even know if she lost it, but I was like, this looks good. And it's just like getting to see somebody's life in pictures. It's just a really beautiful thing. And I've gotten to see some really beautiful things, and that's how I got to know Mia, was through pictures. And I got to see like her qualifications lie in her ability to study the things that she's been brought to, and to get accredited in certain methodologies that support her with her clients. All of that you can find on her website, which we will put up. The thing I know about her is that you will see as you sit and settle in, that she's a really bright light. I was guided to introduce her as a spiritual sister. Like, I thought, my spiritual sister from across the pond, who I never met, but I finally got to meet this week. And Holy Spirit was like, well, she's not actually a spiritual sister. she's more like a spiritual cousin. And I was like, what's that about? She's like, you know how your cousins come over to your house and like they're not like siblings, so you haven't like got knocked down the stairs by them yet, and they haven't punched you in the head yet. That they're like wearing their Sunday best because it's usually a holiday when your cousins come, and they're like your special siblings, like come from another womb, and you're like more friends of family that I'm kind of related to, and you know them on their best days. So you have seen her on her very best days. She's put out these pictures, and you know her on her most beautiful and best days. But today, when she shares with you, you will hear about her pain point and the less pretty hours. And then after this talk, you will be sisters. So
Oh,
I'm excited about that transformation. And I always want to be completely honest with you. So I'd like to call her my sister, but for now, she's my cousin. We'll watch the transformation happen together. Please welcome Mia Sera.
oh, thank you, Cuz. Okay. So first of all, I'm just so delighted and honored to be here. I was so excited, Maureen, about this invitation. I can't tell you. And I know I said to you when I met you the other day that I was a little bit starstruck because when I started doing ACIM first, I started using your ones on YouTube to do the daily lessons. So, meeting you on Wednesday then virtually was quite exciting for me. So thank you. So I'm going to tell you, I suppose, my story, my most recent story, let's put it that way, and my most recent period of growth, I'm going to call it. So for my entire life, I have always, as far as I can remember, leaned on my faith. And there has always been God in my life in some shape, form or other. And as I moved into adulthood, how God showed up, or spirit showed up, or the divine changed quite often. And the mediums through which I accessed God also changed. And I suppose really by the time I had reached my mid-40s, it was mostly through yoga. And I think at that stage I hadn't quite discovered A Course in Miracles, but I was very much immersed in the yoga world. And very content, and really had felt I had, dare I say, done a lot of my work, so to speak. And then in February 2020, there were revelations, I suppose, that came about my yoga teacher and the yoga that I had really, really lived by. I quoted this man on a regular basis. I was just, I suppose it was just a huge, huge part of my life. And it really sent me reeling into a pain place that I had never ever been, that I had never visited or experienced. And I was completely lost. But before I was lost, I went into an absolute rage. And this was rage like I had never felt. So in a way, it was a really, really good thing. I became part of a Facebook community to support each other in the aftermath of these revelations. And I did things like burnt my yoga books publicly. Like Callie came out. She came out in a big, big way. I screamed, I cried, I hunched up in the corner of my room that I'm sitting in now. I rocked myself. All sorts of things moved through me. And in this community on Facebook to support one another, I was, I suppose, letting off steam. And one beautiful white-robed woman sent me a message saying, "Do Ho'oponopono, Mia." And I literally went, F Ho'oponopono. I mean, and for me to say that, because these were tools I had also used over the years. So Callie was there and she was raging. But after the fire, there came this emptiness, and literally, I suppose there were the ashes. But that was the place where I got really stuck. So I closed my Course in Miracles book. I cut off all ties with that the yoga community that I was in. And I just didn't know what to do with myself. I really, really missed prayer, but I couldn't pray. I missed that connection, that communication, but I was just empty. I was completely empty. And the only thing I knew to do was to listen to the birds. So that was the beginning, just listening to the birds. And also in this space, I just want to say I really recognized that I had done a lot of spiritual bypassing in my life. I had quoted a lot of people, I had said the right things, I had danced around stuff, and I thought I had felt it fully. And I used to even dare in my classes and groups to quote Marianne Williamson when she would say that we can't go from the birth of Christ to the resurrection, that we must do the crucifixion. And this, I believe, was my real crucifixion, because I did go into post-traumatic stress, and I did go into, I suppose, meeting old wounds and old pains. But anyway, I'm listening to the birds at this stage, and I have thank I suppose the Lord that there was something got me out walking as well. So on my daily walk, I would walk by the River Shannon, and as I walked by the River Shannon, I started to hear her voice calling me, and she was literally saying, "Come in, come in, come in." Now this was February in Ireland. You don't want to get into the River Shannon. It's the last thing you want to do. But I kept hearing her, and the voice was getting stronger and stronger until I knew I just have to get in. I know this is what I need to do. And for me, I guess it was getting rid of all the practices and all the things I do that allowed me to hear that quiet voice. That was what was interesting for me, because I was always searching, seeking, and suddenly I wasn't looking for anything, and I was hearing. And so just after St. Patrick's Day, so it was March, towards the end of March 2020, I had my first dip into the River Shannon. And I chose not to wear a wetsuit because I knew I needed to feel everything fully. And feel it I did. It was feckin' freezing. So I think it was -2 for us. It was 28.4. I looked it up Fahrenheit for you. So cold, cold, cold. But I came out with this feeling of aliveness again. I just felt alive. You know, obviously I was cold, I was shivering, but I also felt like that she had caressed me, that she had given me some love. And I started to go in every day, and I still go in every day. And there's the constancy, and there's the buoyancy, and there's a liberation. And there's been this really sweet knowing recently as I started to look into the mysticism. So the River Shannon is actually the goddess Sinan, and she's known as the possessor of wisdom. And it is said that she went diving deep into the sea of generous women and came back with all its lovely bubbles of clarity, hope, and wisdom. And I like to think that that's what I received also. And the other gift, I suppose, that came with this swimming is the friends that I have made. So I have made beautiful new friends in my community that I now swim with. She brought me back to prayer, because when I got into the water, the words that came out my mouth were thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can feel the emotion now actually as I speak it, because it was literally thank you, because I just didn't know how to come back from where I was. Another part of that story was that I also shut down from Clive. So I moved into, we had recently got married, just to fill you in. So we got married at the end of 2019, a beautiful celebration in Ibiza with all our friends. And I just couldn't be with him. I couldn't meet him. I moved into a single bed in a spare room. I couldn't look him in the eye. If I did share a bed, I couldn't turn even round to him. And I didn't have an answer for this. I didn't know how to fix this. And there was a part of me as well that I suppose I'd never said no, not that he was asking for anything, but I'd never said, turned away from the masculine, let's put it that way, to lick my wounds. And this is what I felt like I was doing now, even though Clive wasn't the one that had hurt me. So I felt like I was going around in a suit of armour. And despite the aliveness and the quality of life that the water was starting to give me, it still didn't quite heal that. It meant I could function, It meant I could work, and it meant I felt a part of something. I felt supported by the water, and I felt a part of something. But I was still in that place of shutdown, I would say, to some degree. And another little piece before I move on to when I met the spirit of cacao, another little piece in there is that I discovered that where I swim is where the River Shannon meets Lough Derg, so it moves into a really big lake. And I know, Maureen, as well, you swim a lot of the time in a lake. So this is a very special meeting place. But in preparing to speak here today, I looked up the meaning of Lough Derg. And it's another name for Dagda, which is the god of wisdom. And he's known as the father of all. So literally, actually, where I swim is where the masculine meets the feminine. And that feels really, really relevant to this story. So anyway, I'm gonna fast forward on. So I am swimming and I am managing to function. I'm gone back to work and there is healing happening. That's what I'd say. I was in this healing process with the water and with my friends. And I have one beautiful friend, and she's actually on the call today, and I was bending her ear constantly about how am I going to awaken my heart again and my sexuality, because it was so shut down. And I knew I couldn't move from this fear-based place. So there was times where I thought, oh, I'll just be with Clive or be affectionate towards him, but it was coming from fear. It was not coming from love. It was kind of, making myself do something. So I wanted it to be really organic and, just to come from absolute love. And so this beautiful friend of mine who I was sharing with sent me on this app. And it's hilarious that these days that's how, you get your mojo back, you get an app. But she's very in touch with spirit, and she felt really called to share this with me. Long story short, I did little bits and pieces of the app and some of the exercises. And because I'm one of these people that I want to tick all the boxes and I want to get the certificate, or I want it to come up on the screen, congratulations, you finished your journey, I thought I'd better do everything. So I got to the recipes page, and those of you that know me, that might be on the call, know I don't really do recipes, I don't really do cooking, I don't do, I'm happiest out of the kitchen, unless I'm actually eating. But anyway, I went to the recipes page because I wanted to tick the boxes. And I saw the word ceremonial cacao, and it literally jumped out at me. And I just started Googling, what's ceremonial cacao? And from what I read, it was exactly what I needed. That's all I know. It was literally saying, buy me, buy me, buy me. And I ordered it straight away, and it came a few days later. And I picked up the block, and I was smelling it, and I knew this is exactly what I need. And I made my first cup of cacao, and somebody calls it a hug in a mug. That's what it felt like. It felt like a hug in a mug. That's not my quote, but it felt like that. It was just this gorgeous hug in a mug. And it was like as if it just kind of came down into my heart and swirled around and started very, very gently opening my heart up. And what I asked for was for that heart opening and to feel alive, fully alive and whole again, like sexually in every way. I wanted to be able to meet my man again, I suppose, and I hadn't found any other way of doing it. And if you ask cacao to do something for you, if you ask Mama Cacao, she really does it for you. She goes exactly where you want her to go. And that's what she did. And I actually started to feel this aliveness in my body, like the cells were starting to dance. And literally, like from my head, my heart, my yoni, everywhere, it was all just going, and back, and it was kind of bubbling up. And it works very, I suppose, very softly and gently. There's nothing pushing. They say cacao opens the door for you, and that it's your choice to go through the door. And she'll keep opening it, and she'll open it wider and wider, and eventually she might just shove you through. But my experience has been that I've been able to take on those invitations as they come and gently walk through that door. And what it has meant, literally, is that the suit of armour has come off. So I'm back in our bed. I'm no longer going to bed like Fort Knox, like in almost in a tracksuit and hoodies, everything wrapped up. I've been able to turn around. I've been able to look Clive in the eye. I've been able to express my love for him. I've been able to sit here with him and share this space with him. And I feel like I've come home to myself. I feel like I'm back from, God knows where. And it's been quite a journey. I'm so, so, so grateful that I was able to listen, because I think where I went that was about all that was left for me, was to be able to listen. And I say it started with the birds, and then it was the call into the water, and then it was the cacao. And I feel like the cacao has sort of like, it's like this crown now that I'm wearing, this gift that the spirit cacao has given me. And it's like, it feels like flowers of freedom on top of my head. And that I'm free actually to teach now without dogma. And I've trained to facilitate with the cacao. But what I feel is, free to teach from this place of love without using anybody else's teachings, but just the ones that rise naturally in me, from me, through me. So it's like I'm just open to spirit now. And there's no particular way I need to do anything. I just need to keep listening and keep being and keep showing up. And I just want to add, I'm so, so grateful that Maureen invited Clive to share this space for me, because it feels actually exactly how it should be. And I think you intuited that, Maureen, to have us both on together. And my initial reaction was a slight resistance, if I'm to be honest. I thought, oh, really? And he's rubbing my arm because he knows I'm really honest. If I'm nothing else, I'm brutally honest. So yeah, there was a little bit of that. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I'm really open to questions, because I probably didn't cover half of what I would love to say about this journey. But I'm going to quote Marianne Williamson again. So for me, it was a real return to love through the water and the chocolate. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I know that I have like 1,000 questions, and I realize we are sisters because I don't cook either. Thank God for my husband. My kids would starve and be taken away from me because it's just never happened. I do have about 1,000 questions for you. I am so grateful that you're both here, and I love that you were transparent with, like, really, like, this is my show. Does he have to be here? But I do feel like just when you notice that the masculine and the feminine are right there, like, we're kicking off a 3 weeks of the divine masculine coming up with Todd Fink. He's going to come and speak about it today. There is a healing that's happening. There's a beautiful healing that's happening for you in the macrocosm, for us in the microcosm, or vice versa. But a healing is happening, and it can't come soon enough.
This is a song called Rishikesh, and it's about where it all started for us, and it's about another river, the Ganges, which was kind of what brought us together. We went down to the river, down to the river to get healed, down at the river
flowers bloom. We walked and we talked to the night. Just me and you. The things we would do are lost on a heavenly flight. We were opening doors in far off shores to a future we knew we could own. Then under the sheets where the universe greets, we let it all in and let the healing begin. Oh, in Michigan, we said in Michigan, we said we let the healing begin. When we let it all in, yes, in Michigan, we said yes, 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 in Michigan, oh, in Michigan, we said yes, 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 and I'm still saying yes.
Woohoo! Beautiful. Is that an original song?
Yes, yes.
Oh my lord. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. When you were repeating the word Michigan, were you saying Michigan?
Rishikesh, which is the place in northern India where the Beatles went to meet the Maharaja there, and it's a sort of sacred place in the
Yeah,
north
it's a really holy city in India, and
on,
we
on the River Ganges.
yeah we
There,
spent some time there together. So loads of memories were flooding back actually there when he was
it's
singing
like a
that.
diary of our sort of love affair and that
Okay.
couple
Okay. I got 1,002 ideas in my mind. You need to go on tour. You need to do a two-person show. You need to make a movie. You got to write a book. I want to push everything into form. But right now, I'm just going to savor it like chocolate in my mouth. It was stunning. Thank you so much, guys. You're magic. So Mia's going to come back up, and you get to ask her all kinds of questions. So I would love to kick it off with this. First of all, Mia, two things. When you went into the water, like I go into Lake Superior and it's cold. There's a lot of resistance at the edge of the water, isn't there? And you said you wore tongs, shoes, and just a bathing suit. And did it get easier? and and tell us just a little bit about the ritual of the cacao and how you do the making of the cacao ritual.
So firstly, the water, I would say up until about 3 weeks ago, there was still a resistance
Oh,
every time. And it was somehow I would drive down, it's just about a half a kilometer, but I would just drive down, park the car, and I would it was almost like just block everything out and just make my way down to the water and get in. And once I was in, it'd be like this. So I think for me, it's been like anything that I know is good for me, but it's sort of difficult to do. And then once I'm doing it, it's the most beautiful thing ever. And now the water has heated up. So for me, it's about 11 or 12 degrees. I think that's about 58 for you.
oh,
But for me, that's quite, because my body is now conditioned to it, and it's actually a pure delight for the last few weeks. Um, Absolute delight. It feels like it's all creamy and yummy and gorgeous. And we had our first moonlight swim the other night, myself and the women I swim with, and it was just magical.
Wow. And when you go into the water, you don't just go into the water, you swim around. And how
Oh,
long do you stay?
yeah, about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. And a good day could be 20 minutes. It depends. And I think over the summer now we'll swim that bit longer and then make our way into the winter again and be breaking ice and getting down slippery steps and all of that.
It's just so amazing. What about the ceremony?
Wow. Oh, I had a ceremony here this afternoon actually with two beautiful women. So to prepare it for, it comes in a large block. You might get one over there actually. So it comes in a big block, and so it's got all the butter and the fat in it. It's really great, and you chop it up. But before I even chop it up, I get into my bare feet because I'm not the most grounded person in the world. So it really helps me to be very, very present. And it comes in a block like this. This is Keats cacao, so it's a big solid block. And then I start to chop it, and as I chop it, I start to pray, or sometimes I sing, or sometimes I play a bit of music. But I'm already starting to put intention into it, just of pure love, and that it'll go where it needs to go, and particularly if I'm serving it to others. And then once it's chopped, you add a little bit of warm water and make it into a paste. So then you get this gorgeous thick chocolatey paste. And then you add more warm water and whatever kind of nut milk you like, almond milk or hazelnut milk. And then if you wish to sweeten it, or if you want to bring in some fire, you put a little chili powder, and you put it all in your blender. And this really appeals to me because I've done so many things where every bit of it had to be so sort of very holy and sacred, and you wouldn't be using blenders. And so I love that you whiz it up, and that's bringing in the element of air, and it gets all thick and creamy. And yeah, you sit down, you find a quiet corner, and when you set your intention, you allow it really to rise out of your beingness. So I sit with it for a moment or two and allow the intention to rise. And then you can even blow it into the cup of cacao to release it. And then you just start sipping and you let the magic happen.
Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds delicious. That sounds amazing. Of all of the spiritual rituals and practices, that sign me up. Except for the part, I gotta get
Chocolate, holy
you.
chocolate. And it's
Yeah.
fun. The energy of it is very fun and light. It's not serious. It's a real, yeah, light, fun thing. And we do ceremony together now on Saturday mornings.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so wonderful. You know, Course in Miracles tells us, like, don't forget to laugh. Like, we take these teachings too seriously. And Jesus says, be like little children. What do kids like more than like hot cocoa and going swimming?
Yeah.
It's like the religion of the dolphins or something. I love it. Did anybody else have any questions for Mia or Clive?
It's so wonderful to have you here, Mia, and Clive. Welcome. Uh, I just absolutely loved everything that you were sharing. And I felt really called into the water, like as you were speaking. And I've been feeling that for a long time. And I've gone up, to the island and gone in the water. And there's still something they're calling me. And I wanted to ask you about your experience with there's the cold of the water, but then it was the River Shannon and this wisdom and hope and clarity that came from it being that river. And I just, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I could just take a cold shower, or I could just Wim Hof, method it or something. But I feel like there was another element there. And I wanted you to just address, like, how important is the cold and what is this other element of wisdom, deep feminine wisdom, and how those two things you experienced and their importance.
So from the point of view of Wim Hof and the cold water, let's say, like there's a real science behind it, and it does turn on, the polyvagal nerve, and it does boost your immune system, and it does release endorphins because it brings you very, very close to your pain barrier. And so natural endorphins, are released. But for me and for the women that I swim with, and we've all started speaking the same language. We all get in and we all start to say thank you, and it naturally rises out of us. And we all feel met, and we all feel held. And for me, there's this real motherness in the sort of the constancy. Like, I'm looking at my window and the lake is there, and she's always there, or he is, I now discovered, so that meeting place. So it is like being, I felt like I had, I'm going to say parents, initially mother, but I can say parents, and I felt like there was something holding me and supporting me and loving me and caressing me. And yeah, that's how I would describe it. And a softness, and even on the wild days, and it gets quite wavy here, when it's wild, but even on those wild days I felt so safe, and where we swim is quite out of our depth, but there's just this element of being held and being in the right place. So that it's coming into my mind, that the arms of the mother, and we giggle, and it is a very feminine space for me. I guess Clive comes sometimes, but mostly I swim with women or sometimes on my own, and it's just, it's also giggly and giddy and silly and, all of that.
I love when you spoke about how you dive into the bubbles of sisterhood and there's clarity. I mean, that's really,
Yeah.
makes sense. Amy had a question. She said, do you do breathing exercises before you enter the water? Do you do breathing exercises before you go in, like Wim Hof?
Yeah, Amy, I don't. I have practiced some of the Wim Hof stuff, his method, and I teach pranayama, but no, I don't. I go in like I've always gone in, even as a child. I just get in, and that's it. And sometimes we run up and down the boardwalk afterwards just because we're cold. And wave our arms and dance, and I mean, definitely the locals around here think we're half cracked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of people asked about, where do you get the chocolate? Carol Ham wants to know, do you sell it on a website?
Yeah, so you can buy it via my website, but when you go onto the website, there's 3 different ways, and you'll be looking for the way that it'll link you through to Keith's Cacao website via me. So that means I get a percentage, but you're buying it from him, because obviously you don't want it to come all the way from Guatemala to Ireland and Ireland back to the States.
Okay.
But so that, on my website, which is there in the chat somewhere.
Will you speak about your practice of deep listening that led you into the water?
What I realized was that I was always praying. I was always talking, if that makes sense. So I was always talking to God. And because I was out with God, so to speak, I wasn't talking. So I was just in this quiet, reflective space. So I wasn't doing anything particular. I just wasn't talking, if that makes sense. So there was just no noise going on in my head. And in that space, I guess the voice came in, because there was quietness. I wasn't busy trying or doing, which of course is the masculine as well. So in a way, I feel like I almost became a container and was able to hear. And of course, the whole big circle is that through the pain of the revelations that came, I actually grew. And in some way, now I need to be grateful, despite what others have went through, but just I'm grateful as well for all that I've experienced. I hope that answers the question. That's the only way I can answer it, is that I stopped talking.
That is going to be a problem for me and Beth Gordon. We like to talk. My husband told me I speak more words than he can hear. So we'll put that into practice, right, Beth? All right.
Yes. Yes. And I just want to say thank you, because that whole idea of just emptying your mind of your thought so you can just hear the thoughts and the words of God.
Yeah.
Like that's so beautiful. And I think we're all being called into it all the time, so it is a
And it
practice.
wasn't forced. It wasn't, it just, as in, it just happened. But what I will say is that one of my friends that I swim with as well, because Spirit's always talking to us. And one of them came out of the water one day and she said, I need to say something to you. And I said, what? And she said, I keep getting messages that you're to be still. And she said, I just keep getting those messages, And I just listened to that as well. So I kind of, gradually just stopped being as busy in my mind.
That
Ah,
always,
that
yeah.
just, I can feel the relaxation and the peace in that. Thank you.
Just before I play this song, just like to say a little thing that just came to mind about the swimming for me as I go in. I tend to go in the sea quite a lot because it's near where I work. But it's as a man, my experience of getting in is it's a real sort of leveling thing. It's a real grounding thing as a man. And there's all this talk about the men and the patriarchal society, but I think just getting in the cold, it's just that whole cold, it just takes you down to sort of neutral, and it starts you down just as a person. It just kind of takes you down to that levels me off anyway, and I find that really good to sort of just stop me just seeing myself not as man or woman, but just as a person to start, and not to fight it, and not try to kind of be brave or anything like that, or to swim a long distance or stay in a long time. It's just a thing. Sometimes I'm in for seconds and sometimes minutes, but it's a real leveling thing, and it's a real gift, I think. And it's a really good thing for men to do as well, I think.
Oh, thanks so much, Clive.
Okay, this is a song called Let It Shine. Ain't nobody better, simply are the best at being who you are. Yeah, you're more than past the test. All you have to be now is be the who you are. Is the light there within you, as bright as any star. So let it shine, let it shine. Light up your love alive, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Light up your love alive, let it shine. Ain't nobody better, you're special as they come. It's everything about you, it's simply number one. Don't need to be another.
That was awesome. It's all good. This is my husband, Will.
Hello.
I will.
Hi, Will.
We're going to pray out, but Mary had one last question for you, and I didn't want anyone to go unheard. So go ahead, Mary. Do you want to share that question?
Thanks, Maureen. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Clive. I've been dealing with an injury on my left side, and it's actually my whole left side is rather tense. And just briefly, I just wondered if you had any thoughts about healing the left side, which energetically is known as the feminine side.
You know, I know for me, Mary, anytime I feel pain, and I do get pain as well on my left side and in my left hip, and I just keep asking, you know, just for it to reveal what it needs to reveal to me. And I talk to it and I mother it and I'm kind to it and I do my best not to resist it. And what I will say for you as well, that for me the cacao has really helped me in that way as well, because when I sit with her with the cup of cacao, this has become my meditation time, and I ask her to go where she needs to go, because you know I have too many requests when it comes to setting intentions. So now I just say, heal what needs to be healed and gently release what needs to be released. So that has been really helpful for me. Yeah.
Mary is another bright light in our community, a Course in Miracles teacher, and look how shiny she is. So thanks, Mary, for that final question. And oh my gosh, like they better get ready to pack up some chocolate, because we're going to be buying some major chocolate here. I'm like, I can't wait to get it in my house and in my mouth. So thank you. So we're going to go ahead and put this into prayer. So Mia, did you want to pray out?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, sure. I would love to do that. Yeah. Okay. So just everybody gently closing their eyes down and entering into that inner space. And just paving a path with your breath down into your heart. And as you land in your heart, just taking a moment to recognize the gifts that you received in this community today. And then I feel called to use this Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you, and may the wind be always at your back. May the rain fall soft upon your fields, and may the sun shine warm upon your face. And until we meet again, may the goddess hold you in the palm of her hand. And thank you so much to Maureen and her team and all of you who joined us today.